This is Daim Shabazz. We're in Orlando, Florida at the 120th U.S. Open, and we're actually going into the ninth round, the very last round. Ilya Nizhnik is ahead. I think he's on 7 out of 8, and there's a bunch of people on 6.5, including the person that I'm sitting with.
I have 6.
Oh, you have 6?
But that's okay.
Okay. So this is a...
And after playing in the senior tournament and everything, as you know, it's a lot of games to play, but we're hanging in there. I'm doing okay, you know. I mean, it's a hard tournament.
So you probably, by hearing the voice, you probably will know that that's John Fedorowicz. We see you at these tournaments going over games and coaching.
The Goichberg at the Memorial Day tournament.
So is that mainly what you're doing these days? Because you're not playing as much.
Well, I teach at a school. Sunil Weramantry was my boss. I don't know, he might still be my boss. We gave him a retirement party, but he might still be my boss anyway. And I work at a school in New York, Spire Legacy School, 59th Street and 9th Avenue. And it's a very good school, and chess is in the curriculum. So chess is a class for the kids from kindergarten to grade 4.
And how many students would that be?
That's probably a couple hundred.
Wow.
You know, in each class, like 25 in each class, or something like that. And so and if you look us up, we've done pretty well in the nationals every year.
Do you have any students here?
I have some students here, but not from that school. From that school, it's little kids. This tournament might be a little bit much for them at this point. Some of them went to the World Open and tried their luck there and did okay. But it's but they're like 7 years old, 8 years old, and so I mainly now I'm just teaching a lot. And I like that Memorial Day tournament where I do the I do the commentary and I do some lectures.
Yeah, and, that's Chicago.
And I played in the World Open, and I did a lecture at the I did some lectures at the World Open, and I played. Mm-hmm. But then people get used to me doing the commentary so much that they walk up to me at regular tournaments where I'm playing, and they ask me to go over their game. Right. And I go like, I'm not doing that here, I'm playing. I'm actually playing,
Right. So tell us a little bit about you mentioned before we started recording that you started chess relatively late compared to the children today. When did you start?
I started playing 15 years old because the first time I ever saw chess really was living in New York. Well, first you got to say that back then there weren't a lot of TV stations, right? Like 6 TV stations or something. So I'd come from school, and sometimes they had like a good movie on, and they had like on ABC Channel 7 the 4:30 movie or something.
Right.
And if it was like Frank Sinatra week or something, I'd watch it. But then when I came home from school and there was some girls movie on, I remember like Splendor in the Grass, I think it was, right? And I'm like, this is a girls movie, I'm not watching this. And then, so I was going to turn off the TV, but then Fischer Spassky was on the PBS, the educational channel. Mm-hmm. So I started watching chess. Thought it was interesting, maybe a little weird. Thought that I liked the names of the openings, cracked me up.
But how did you get to play? How did you learn?
I just taught myself, sort of, I mean, I just sort of knew how the pieces moved already, and then from watching the game, and then my first tournament was like up in 1973 in the Westfield, New Jersey, in the E section of the Westfield Chess Club Championship. And I went 11-0 and got my first rating of 1430.
Wow!
And then just and just kept going after that, and I liked it. I don't know, I was very interested in it. And then when I was in high school, you know how they have career day where like the firemen show up and talk about how it is to be a fireman or a lawyer or doctors. Mm-hmm. So I wrote like maybe I want to be a chess player.
Really?
And I get sent to the guidance counselor because of this. And the guidance counselor was a nice guy, and he walks up to me because I go see me. He goes, "Hey Fedorowicz, are you shitting me with this chess thing?" I was like, "I don't know, And I told him, I said, "Mr. Alexander, I would never shit you," but I said, "I don't know. It's kind of interesting, Who knows?" He's like, you think you'll be able to do it? I said, well, I'll try, and if it doesn't work, then, you know, we'll go to college. Or I almost joined the Marines. My father was a Marine.
Really?
And you know, and that's sort of like, it just sort of kept going. As long as I kept getting better, I thought I'd keep doing it. And it turned out okay. I like it. I think it was a lot of fun. It was a good time.
So what was the Fischer boom? What was that like in New York?
That was a big deal. That was a big deal, you know. I mean, and it's, you know, and a lot of people, chess could have been really, chess in the United States is still really nice now, with all the nationals that the kids play in. I think we got a really strong chess country, and I think we're going to be good for a really long time. You know, with the kids that we have coming up, the young players. Also, the guys we got playing now aren't that old in the first place. You know, Wesley So and Nakamura and Fabiano are still in their 20s.
Yeah.
And Shanklin is strong. You got Ray Robson, and you know, and then you got these other guys that are really young, like Jeffrey Xiong. So I think we're in really good shape for chess for quite a long time.
Now, how did you improve? Did you hang out at the parks, or did you
go
to the clubs?
I mean, you know, I just sort of like studied, and you know, and then back then, you had to get like any kind of books you can get your hands on. I only had like 3 or 4 books.
And what were those?
I had Rook Endings by Smyslov and Levinfish. And I had, you remember those blue encyclopedia things with the Yugoslavian informant kind of books with the openings? I had a couple of those, and then I had MCO, and then
Is that Walter Korn?
Yes, and then and Larry Evans, Grandmaster Larry Evans. Then after a while, you kind of like you know, we'd go to tournaments, and back then when the informant came out, people would go running in there, you know. It's like, oh, they were like fights, you know. It's like he's got the new informant. People go running in there, and then somebody told me I should go to this Russian bookstore in downtown and buy. They had like 64. It was like a Russian newspaper.
That's the one Fischer used to.
Yeah. Somebody told me, go down there and get to, you know, have a lot of games to play over, so I would do that. It was like a crummy looking thing, you know, but it had millions of games to play over. And that's how I studied, you know. And other than that, you would just go to tournaments, and I had notebooks.
So you didn't do the park, Washington Square Park, or?
No, not really, no. No, not really. I don't know why. I guess I just never got to the neighborhood, you know, because I probably would have done it, but just never got to the neighborhood.
Now, you're originally from the Bronx, right?
I was born in the Bronx, not far from Yankee Stadium. Yeah.
So what was? Were there any chess clubs nearby that you would?
No. And then my grandfather stayed in the Bronx the whole time, and the parents moved to Piscataway, New Jersey, and then I became a member of the Westfield Chess Club. Was a good club in New Jersey. It's still there. And a lot of good players have come through there, and there were a lot of guys that helped me when I was a kid. You know, Mike Valvo was an IM; he helped me, and then you know there was Todd Luna in our tournament helped me when I was a kid. Also, you know, he's like about 8 years older than me, so he helped me, and that was like that was a good club. You know, a lot of masters and stuff. So playing there, I think helped a lot, and also and Goichberg back then had tournaments in New York every other week, which was good. And when he didn't have a tournament every other week, he had like something in New Jersey, you know, that is usually in some place not easy to get to, but I would manage to take buses and stuff and get there. And then I remember one of the first tournaments I figured I played GM Shamkovich about 150 times.
Really?
Yeah. And he was a really nice guy, a really good guy, and I remember, like, you know, I used to go to tournaments, and you know, I'd ask Goichberg, you know, I was always trying to see if I could win the tournament. Who's playing? And he's like, GM Leonid Chamkovich. I was like, really? What, you kidding, right? And then at some point, this guy comes walking in. I went, all right, well, he's really here, you know. And he was like the first one of the guys, and I played him and Lev Albert and Gingy and you know and Lane, you know, combined like 300, 400 times, and you know, and that helped me a lot because those guys are really, you know, they were like experienced USSR GMs, you know, good with the openings, and then if you got to an ending, really nice, you know, practice, And I think that helped a lot.
So what was your breakthrough when you decided, okay, I might be kind of good at this? Did you compete in junior opens or?
Yeah, but those things weren't as big a deal as it is now. I mean, we had the U.S. Junior Invitational was nice. There was in 1976. I got invited. My rating was high enough to get invited to that. Probably it was around, like close to 2,300. And then so I got invited to that. And that tournament, I tied for last. It's 76. It was in Memphis State University, and I tied for last with Nick DeFermian. And Michael Rode tied for first with Mark Deason. And in the middle of the tournament were like Ken Regan and Ron Henley. Michael Rode tied. Yasser was in it. And I think those, and John Tisdall, I think those were I think I said all 8. Wow. And it's a strong tournament. Everybody became an IM or a GM. Mark Deason was the strongest of all of us, but sadly he died like about, 10 years ago.
And that was before they awarded the GM title to the World Junior, because he won the World Junior. Yeah, that was a shame. And when he won, and people were joking back then that when he won the World Junior wasn't as strong as the U.S. Junior, so he won it pretty easily. Mm-hmm. I think, did he have a perfect score?
No. In the World Junior? No, I don't think so. There were a couple of draws in there, I remember.
Okay.
And he was better than us. He had like a more mature style. Most of us were just back when we were kids. We were just trying to mate some people. Yeah, yeah. We were just like trying to mate people. And then my friend John Tisdall said to me at some point, he goes, we're very good at mating people, but we got to learn how to play chess. And he goes, we got to like play D4, learn how to play positionally and stuff like that if we're going to be good players. So then we started to work on that part of the game.
But you never listened, right?
I still like the tactics, but if you look at my games, people think I'm a better positional player than the tactics. Because when I started playing positionally, I realized that I could beat most people like under 2350 without doing anything, and I felt sometimes it made me lazy. I was like, I'll just play this. The people play a bad open. Somebody plays the King's Indian against us nowadays. It's a bad opening.
That's what they say.
Yeah, and so you just play some. Well, I was a King's Indian player, and I should have given it up right when Kasparov gave it up. It's good to keep an eye on the people that play your opening. When somebody like Kasparov goes to King's Indian's done, then it's time to stop.
So speaking of openings, you wrote a book on the Benko Gambit.
The Benko Gambit was a good opening.
Which I played almost most of my adult life.
Yeah, Benko Gambit's still a good opening. It's it's just positionally correct. It's not like these Budapest gambits or it was always a good gambit. You get a sound pawn structure, nice pieces. It's still a good gambit.
Now, do you have any ideas of writing any other books?
Well, a friend of mine's bothering me to write a book about myself. I don't feel like it.
Too early? Too early to do that?
I don't know. I don't know if I feel like it. I mean, Joel Benjamin's an egomaniac, so he wrote a book about himself. I don't know if I really care. I don't know. I mean, it's the people tell me probably because. I guess it's because I got along with people well for some reason. I wound up being Kamsky's coach, and a lot of ridiculous stories with that. All kinds of adventures in Europe and whatnot, and keeping his father from beating people up.
Yeah.
Like the famous story where in Spain, Rustam's trying to beat up Nigel Short. And I kept Rustam from beating Nigel up, and then and then Gingy was wanted there, and then Gingy's like, why didn't you let him hit him? And I was like, I said, do you understand what was going to happen if Rustam even like touched him like this? Nigel was going to be lying there on the floor like he's dead. We would have been forfeited, right? And then Gingy goes, I think you're right. And I was like, yeah, well. And I said, we wouldn't have gotten paid. And I said, not only that, would be me and you on a romantic vacation in Spain. And I said, and who wants that?
Who wants that?
Oh, well, the score was 3-0. It's a candidates match in Spain. Kamsky's up 3-0. And, it's a big deal. It's to see who plays for the World Championship and whatnot, right? So Short resorted to Bush tactics. In game 4, he started bothering Gada during the game. So he's going like stuff, like people, at such a high level with the money and everything like that. And Gada developed like a nervous cough or something, right? And then Short goes to him, I heard the whole thing. I was like 20 feet away. He goes, "You don't sound too good. I hope you don't die." And Gada just ignores him, but it bothered Gada, and he lost the game, right? So now the score is 3-1. And at dinner, Rustam goes nuts and tries to attack Short. And then after that, everything sort of calmed down, and Gada won the match easily. He won it 5.5, 1.5, right? So, and then at some point, just to cause further trouble, Nigel went and got a restraining order against Rustam. So they showed up at 2 in the morning and the police showed up at 2 in the morning, carted Rustam off to jail. Right? So me and Gingy got to go and find out what's going on, right? And then Gingy comes back and he goes, "Hey, got some bad news." And I go, "What?" He goes, "They're letting him out." and also before the match, Gingy says to me, "What are the chances that we win the match and Rustam doesn't do anything?" And I said, "0." I said, "I don't know." I said, "I don't know. I don't know what." I said, "Look, well, I don't know what's going to happen with that crazy bastard. Something's going to happen." I said, "Just watch." And then Roman goes, "You were right." And I said, yeah. And so that was always like a lot of stories with those people because I worked with them in 3 or 4 matches.
Now, were you living in Europe at the time, or
no? I was in Europe sort of like from 1986 to 91. Going back and forth and stuff like that. I was in a German league team with Larry Christensen. Larry Christensen got me on his team, and we lived in Germany together. Our coach gave us a free apartment, and that was a lot of fun. I still like Europe a lot. I mean, and I hope to play there a lot, in a few years.
What countries do you like?
I like Spain, Holland, England. I liked everything there.
Did you pick up any of the Spanish? Or?
I was okay. I was okay back then.
Okay.
And German also. I found Larry found out one time I drank too much, and all of a sudden I started speaking German fluently. I was sitting with these people and I talked to them for 2 hours. And then when we're done, Larry goes like, "What is wrong with you?" And I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "You speaking German fluently?" And I said, "I was kind of wondering about that myself." I said, "I think it might have something to do with the beer." But it was a lot of, but I really enjoyed living in Europe, and I still like going there and taking the trains all over the place. I just like the whole place. My nephew married a German girl. He lives in Aachen, Germany, and that's like a good chess location because it's right in the middle. When I was with Larry, we were about 20 miles away from there, central right in Europe. So anytime we got invited to a lot of tournaments because we were so close by.
So what did you play in some of the major tournaments like Hastings?
Oh, Hastings I played a lot. Hastings I played in I think 4 or 5 times. And I used to know the organizers, and sometimes I would just call them up and go, "Hey, can I play?" And they go, "Yeah, sure."
Can you tell us how it differs? How tournaments in Europe differ from
the round robin tournaments where you're trying to make norms is much different than the United States like World Open or something like that.
The conditions and playing conditions.
Yeah. My first big international tournament was actually Hastings in 1977. Right, so Hastings always started in December and then ended in January. So I would tell my kids that I went to a tournament that took 2 years, and they're like, "Well, that's a long time to go somewhere." And I was like, "Figure it out, And so I got into a tournament with Petrosian and these guys because my first FIDE rating was 2480. I played in a Goichberg tournament for FIDE rating, and I got 7.5 out of 9, so I started with 2480. And then somebody didn't show up, so the next thing you know, I got sent to the top section. And it was nice, because they were giving me all this money. They're like, "How much was your air ticket?" I was like, "I don't know, 400. Like, it's 4, I was like, Jesus Christ. I was like, that was my first, time. I wasn't an IM yet. I was almost an IM. And I played a tournament with Petrosian and Gingy and Vladimir Hort and all these famous people you read about. And I was scared, and I did okay. I came in like like 11th place or something out of 15 people, and that was pretty good. But yeah, it's a much different kind of thing there. And then I remember my first tournament as a GM was in December of 1986 in Paris. And at some point they gave me my appearance fee. I was like $3,000, and I went into the bathroom and counted it, and then I immediately screwed up a winning position, But then I went out. With my girlfriend to a good dinner, and I was happy, and she's, But that was the difference of being in the GM was, going to tournaments and getting money to actually play, and then having prizes. Also, that was a good deal. But now it's so much harder now. There's just too many good players.
Yeah.
That's the difference, I think.
So who are some of the interesting persons that you met when you were in Europe?
When I was a kid, well, the Lone Pine tournament, about the Lone Pine tournament was a nice tournament for us to go to. When I was a kid, I would go, there was always days off and stuff, so I would walk around my notebook and walk up to the GMs and ask them questions. Oh. And they were all pretty nice. Petrosian was really nice to me when I was a kid. I would always walk up to him and I'd be like, so what does Rook A3 do in the Benoni? And he'd be like, I don't know. And I go, look, it does something. He goes, well, safety, guarding the king, you never know. And, because he was famous for that kind of stuff. And he was nice to me when I was a kid. And Polgaevsky. All these guys, all of the USSR GMs, we were afraid of them. We were kids, American kids, we were afraid of these guys. Oh, Jesus, they look so mean, But they were good guys, they were really nice, And like the first time I hung out with Spassky at some tournaments, that was pretty cool. I told Spassky, I said, you and Fischer, that's the reason I play chess. And he said, don't blame me. Spassky was really pretty cool also. But I just met a lot of, and the traveling was always fun. And, I played in Cuba 2 times.
Oh, you did?
That was pretty interesting.
Capablanca Memorial?
No, it was called a radio station, Radio Rebelde, I think it was what those were. Yeah.
Okay.
The Capablanca was in another city, but the the ones in Havana were had other names, and that was pretty interesting tournaments to go to.
So, what are some of your memorable? You have any memorable games that you can think of offhand?
My game with Petrosian from that first Hastings is one of my favorite games because I almost beat him, and it was like a big attacking game in a Sicilian, and
so you were white,
and I was white, and I played a carries attack, and people should play that game over. It's it's a nice game. Still a little annoying even now that I didn't win, but It taught me an important lesson, When you're about to trade queens, you look at the position, and even if you're ahead of material and your opponent's king is bad, you don't trade queens. That was like that one stuck in my brain because that's what happened in that game. I had my attack forced me to win material, and he offered a queen trade, and I took it, and then that sort of helps him, because then he just has to deal with material, doesn't have to deal with king safety also.
Right.
So, and then, then playing Dzindzichashvili in that tournament was one of the worst games I ever played. Was really nice, learned a lot. Then after the game, he insulted me.
What did he say?
He beat me he just beat me positionally horrible, in 25 moves, and I was just walking away. I was like, I don't know how to play chess. I'm an idiot, And then he goes hey John, and I turn around and I'm in no mood. I go, what? But Dzindzichashvili's too big. I wasn't going to beat him up, If it was somebody smaller, I might have punched him. But Dzindzichashvili's so I'm like, I'm not fighting with this guy. And then he goes, hey John. I go, what? He goes, you're not a positional genius, right? And I go I'm going to get you for that. I'm going to get you. And then he moved to the United States, and 2 years later, I played him in the New York State Championship. I mated him on 26 moves. And then I thought, should I be should I take the high road? And nah. Hey, Roman, what? You're not a tactical genius. And he laughs. He goes, you remembered? I said, of course I remembered. I was yelling at you. How could I forget? But Gingy, playing those guys, I played in, you know, some tournaments in Germany. Oh, I played a nice tournament was the B section of the of Vassily. Vassily was a nice place to go to all the time. I played there 4 times. I recommend people going to that. That's like a real chess festival in Holland, and that's a cool tournament to go to. And I played there like 4 times, I think. And one time in the B section, I was in there with the 3 Polgars.
Oh.
So I had a bet with Yassisarawan. I had to make 2 out of 3 against the Polgars to win the bet. Anything lower, I lose. And I got 2.5 out of 3, so I won the bet. Me and my girlfriend had some good Italian food with Yasser. We had some good wine at that dinner.
So thinking about the Polgars and these child prodigies, what do you think about these young players today? I know you made a comment to me about you having to struggle against these kids.
I'm not kidding. I mean, I playing like I play a 1500 kid in round 1, and the kid's playing tough, and I'm sitting there, and the guy's trying to mate me and whatnot. And I mean, it's, you know how it is with mating attacks. You can get mated by accident sometimes. You just miss one thing, and the guy was, and all these kids. So that's the first thing. It's like I just, when I'm playing a kid, I'm like on guard. So far, they haven't gotten me yet. Because the moment the kid beats you, it's in the chess light. Then you have to read about them, changing of the guard, and that would make me mad.
Right, exactly.
So far, I've stayed out of the news, and that's a good thing. But like I said earlier, we're a good chess country, and that's a part of it. Mm-hmm. Is that the kids are getting really strong.
What do you think about the top level chess, Carlsen? Do you think he's going to remain on top, or do you think that he's going to get pushed out?
My only complaint, I like the top level. I think Carlsen's style is very different to me, and I don't know. I mean, sometimes I feel like he's not a good player. Obviously, that's ridiculous. And I would wonder what happened if he played Petrosian or something. I mean, but everybody is strong. Nakamura, Fabiano, other countries. And now you're getting other people. I don't know how long Carlsen's gonna be world champion. Maybe another couple of times, and then we'll see if somebody goes after him. But chess is really strong nowadays. And it's always. I mean, and now whoever plays Carlsen, I root for, just because we want to get a new guy in there. It's nice to get a new guy. But I like watching those tournaments and playing over this stuff. I think chess is really in good shape all over the place. And as far as the strength, the tournaments. The only thing is, if you want to be a professional chess player now, that's not easy. These Americans that are doing it, that's I wouldn't. It's too hard now. I don't know. I mean, well, it would be different if I was doing it now. Maybe I'd be stronger, but there's just too many good people. You can tell by this U.S. Open.
Yeah. Well, those are the questions I have. I really appreciate.
Absolutely, sure.
Chat,
I had a lot of fun. It was nice talking to you.
Definitely. All right.
And if you ever need to call me or anything, just I'm in the book if you know to spell my last name.
I do. All right. Thanks, John.
Okay.
Right. This is Daim Shabazz. We're signing off.
Nice seeing you guys.